Welcome back to your Game of Thrones recaps. Today is Season 4, Episode 1, Two Swords. My name's Kyle Maddock. Let's get right to it. We kick off this season with Tywin Lannister enjoying the spoils of victory as he melts down the sword of House Stark made of high-prized Valyrian steel into two smaller swords, which now belong to House Lannister. But Tywin isn't satisfied, so he melts those down into 4 even smaller swords, which he then melts down into 8 even smaller swords, which he then melts down into 16 even smaller swords, and this continues until Tywin has 512 Valyrian steel toothpicks for the hors d'oeuvres at Joffrey's wedding. Classic. Tywin orders Jaime to go back to Casterly Rock and lend a hand with whatever they need, as he's a handy guy. Jaime's not ready to hand off his duties as King's Guardian, even at the orders of the Hand of the King. Tywin and Jaime don't say much as they have this sort of shorthand, but you gotta hand it to him. Jaime is hands down one of the most handsome men in Westeros, and he won't let anyone get the upper hand. King Joffrey is definitely in good hand. That never gets old. The other Lannisters aren't faring well either, as Tyrion has been chosen to welcome the Prince of Dorne to King's Landing. For those not familiar, Dorne is a land in the far south of the continent where it's unbearably hot. They have their own laws, and everyone is into weird sex stuff. It's the Florida of Westeros. But it turns out Tyrion has been waiting for nothing, as Doran, Prince of Dorne, sent Oberyn, the other Prince of Dorne, in his place, and that's not at all confusing. Oberyn is in a brothel, choosing a female companion for his female companion, but is interrupted by Tyrion, who wants to know why he's there instead of his brother. It's so Oberyn can get revenge on Tywin and the Mountain for killing his sister and her children many, many years ago. Tyrion yawns, as unbridled hatred of the Lannisters has been done to death. Tyrion decides to go talk to his wife Sansa, who is still sad because her whole family is dead and her home was burned to the ground and she's a prisoner married to an ugly dude and she doesn't love him and get over it already. At least you're on TV. Sansa then leaves to pray and Tyrion's girlfriend shows up in their apartment to try to get some sexy time with Tyrion. But little do they know they're being watched by one of Cersei's spies, who should go tell Cersei what she learned but just can't look away for some reason. While Sansa is praying, she is approached by Ser Dontos, a character who appeared once last season and everyone forgot about. Seems Ser Dontos has been doing some non-stop drinking since he was last on the show and decides to give Sansa the last thing in his life of any value, a cheap necklace. Sansa accepts this gift because it makes her happy for 5 minutes. Jaime then seeks solace from his nephew son Joffrey, who shockingly has no sympathy for Jaime, instead making fun of his age, his lack of a hand, and ironically, his ability to produce children. Joffrey then reads from a book for the first and only time in his life, and sees that Ser Jaime isn't very accomplished when it comes to Kingsguarding. Apparently, killing the king yourself isn't that big a deal. Dejected, Jaime goes to see Brienne to cheer himself up, but she reminds him that he also broke his promise to Catelyn Stark to return her daughters, which Jaime says is impossible because, well, one is dead and the other wants to be. Jaime is having a bad day. Way up north, Tormund Giantsbane celebrates as he's the 1,000th visitor to make it past the wall this week. His prize? Dinner with the Thens, who are serving human arm braised in a red wine reduction with hare salad and a nice eyeball gazpacho. They're gross. Yeah. At Castle Black, Jon is on trial for the minor offense of killing one of his co-workers and the major offense of having sex with a hot redhead. Jon tries to warn them about an impending wildling attack, but they don't care and instead want to hear all the details of his crime of sex with Ygritte. For legal purposes, of course. In the Riverlands, Arya is bored of playing prisoner and now wants a pony. The Hound tells her that she can have a pony when she proves she's responsible enough. So, Arya gets the Hound into a big fight over chicken and kills the man who stole her sword. Since murder and pet care are about the same in Westeros, the Hound gives her the dead man's horse. And Arya leaves happy. Just wait until her super sweet 16, the Hound. Finally, Daenerys slowly leads her giant army down a tiny mountain road on the way to Meereen, the last of the slave cities that she hasn't ruined. Dario Naharis tries to get back into Dany's good graces by giving her some flowers, but she has no idea who he is. Dario says he's been in the cast since last season, but he used to be blonde and clean-shaven and a completely different actor. The army stops when they find a child hanging on a signpost. Dany asks the child how to get to Meereen, and before the child can answer, because she's dead, Dany tells her they're going to see the Wizard of Meereen so Dario can get his face back, Sir Jorah can get out of the friend zone, and Dany can get a copy of How to Train Your Dragon she so desperately needs. Melisandre gets all, deep. Bran falls in love with a tree, and Joffrey gets choked up when he tries to express love for the first time. Thank you for watching this recap of Game of Thrones Season 4, Episode 1, Two Swords. Make sure you tune in again next week for our Episode 2 recap.